Guys, this is Mubin. We are talking about pulmonology. This is the review of the forces of the lecture titled Forces Acting on the Lung System. So let's look at it. The topics that we will cover in this review, and we have covered in the full length, are the lung environment, forces, and the units of the forces that are acting on the lung system for inhalation, exhalation, and during the rest. Pressure terms, what do we mean by pleural pressure, alveolar pressure, and transpulmonary pressure. And then we look at the Laplace's law. We'll do a quick calculation as well. We look at the atelactasis and the dynamics of the pressure and tension there, and we look at the premature babies and what happens, why do they have a tendency of the lung syndromes. So let's look at it. First of all, the environment of the lungs. Look, the lungs live in the rib cage, right? They are free floating in the mediastinum. They are covered by two layers, pleural layers. One is the visceral pleural layer that is adherent to the lung tissue, and then there is a parietal layer that is stuck to the chest wall. So chest wall pulls the pleural layer outwards, lungs pull the visceral layer inward, and that the cavity between the two layers is filled with thin fluid membrane. That fluid experiences negative pressure because one side it is being pulled this way and the other side it is being pulled outwards, and it is a closed cavity, and that is why a negative pressure develops there. There is also another factor that causes this pressure to develop, the negative pressure, and that is the lymphatic drainage. The lymphatics continue to drain that pleural cavity as well, and that also creates small suction effect. So this is the environment in which lungs live. Then the alveoli in here, what I had done was I made one alveolus representing the whole lung or all the alveoli. Normally an alveolar diameter is about 100 micrometer in the diameter. In smaller babies or premature babies, these alveoli are smaller. In the patients who are experiencing the diseases that cause atelactasis, in which the alveoli start shrinking and collapsing, their diameter also would start reducing. Keep that in mind, because this information that the babies, premature babies, and the patients who are experiencing atelactasis, their alveolar diameters are smaller or getting smaller, will be useful here in Laplace's law to see what can happen to the lungs in collapse. Okay, so now let's look at the forces that are acting on the lungs. The forces are basically two. One is outward force, and that is given by the chest cage or the rib cage. Rib cage through the parietal pleura is kind of expanding, and that springing out of the rib cage causes the lungs to be pulled out as well. Between the lungs and the outward force is the pleural cavity, this cavity. So this cavity experiences an outward pull as well, and that is why the cavity is at -5 centimeter of water. We are using the terms water instead of millimeter of mercury. So 1 centimeter of water pressure equals 0.75 millimeter of mercury pressure, or 1 millimeter of mercury pressure equals 1.36 centimeter of water pressure. In pulmonology, we use lots of time the water pressure. Okay, now the outward force is given by the rib cage. There are two inward forces that try to collapse the lungs. If you take the lung out and put it somewhere, it will try to collapse and shrink. These two forces are the lungs tissue. 1/3 of the total inward force or recoil force is given by the lungs tissue. And what in the lung tissue? The elastin and collagen together, they make these kinky springs inside. They're not kinky otherwise, they're just kinked springs, and they try to collapse the lung. If you pull the lungs open, like if I do, if I take an inhalation, then what would happen is that as the lungs expand, these springs will be pulled as well, and the more you pull them, the more they'll try to recoil. So recoil increases when the inspiration happens, and the other way around. If I start exhaling, these springs would start collapsing, and they would now start resisting further collapse. The second part, the second force that pulls inward, is the air fluid interface in the alveoli that tries to collapse the alveoli, that creates surface tension. So I did not say fluid. Many students come to me and say the fluid in the alveoli cause surface tension. No, it is the fluid with the air interface causes the surface tension. What do I mean by that? If you fill the lungs with water and you remove all the air from here, then there is no recoil force exerted by the lining of the fluid or lining of the alveoli. So the lining, the fluid lining of the alveoli exerts pressure, the recoil pressure, only when it is when it connects with the air, and that is a bubble-like behavior. We'll talk about it in a second. So that these are the inward to tissue 1/3, 2/3 of the inward recoil comes by the fluid-air interface. Okay, so now let's see what are the pressure terms. We have three types of terms to keep in mind. One is the alveolar pressure. Alveolar pressure is if the glottis is open and the airway are connected to the outside, then whatever is the pressure inside the alveoli is called the alveolar pressure. Normally, if I stop my breathing for a second and I did an inspiration and then stopped, so that means tidal volume is there. With the tidal volume, when I stop, that is a 0 millimeter or 0 centimeter of water. Or if I exhale tidal volume and then stop, then that is also 0 centimeter of water. So that is the alveolar pressure. The pressure that is in the pleural cavity, that pressure is usually outward pull, which is then balanced by inward recoil pull. That pressure inside here is called the pleural cavity pressure. It is about -5 centimeter of water at the resting state. Then is the transpulmonary pressure. We talked about that over here. Transpulmonary pressure is simply the difference of the pressure between the alveolar and the pleural cavity pressure. The difference of these two pressures. So when it is -5 over here and it is 0 over here, then the transpulmonary pressure is -5. If you inspire, then you expand the chest, that causes the pull on the lungs, that reduces the pleural cavity pressure from -5 to usually -7.5 to 8, and that then translates. If you pull from here, this pressure reduces, then that pulls the lungs out, that pulls the alveoli out, and alveoli expand a little bit. That causes the reduction in pressure in the alveoli as well, normally to -1 centimeter of water. So this is the alveolar pressure change. This is the pleural pressure change, the blue one. The difference between them is the transpulmonary pressure. So look, in case of the inspiration, transpulmonary pressure has now become -6 or -7 centimeter of water. Similarly, in case of inspiration, expiration, that pressure would reduce or even become positive if the expiration or exhalation is forceful. Then let's talk about the recoil. What are the forces of the recoil? So we talked about collagen and elastin. That is normal, understandable. If this is a balloon, the wall of the balloon itself has stretchy fibers. Those stretchy fibers try to collapse the balloon. So in case of our alveoli, those stretchy fibers are collagen and elastin. They are trying to collapse the alveolus or this small tiny balloon. Not a big deal, 1/3 of the recoil forces. But how about the fluids that are present? So here is a simple thing to understand. If you take the alveoli and fill them with the water, then the recoil surface tension goes away. It becomes 0. However, if you fill the alveoli with the pure water, then the surface tension in the wall of the alveoli, which is contributed by two things. One is the collagen and elastin, and second is the fluid sticking to the walls, pulling the walls inward. That surface tension is about 8 dynes per centimeter. If you then change that water with normal fluid of our body composition, for example, sodium is there, potassium is there, chloride is there, magnesium is there, and so on, then the surface tension reduces to 50 dynes per centimeter. So that means the ions are playing a role in reducing the surface tension as well. Why? Because the water is not pure anymore. So water air interface causing the water molecules to attract to each other is reduced, that tension has reduced. And then if you add surfactant, for example here if you see an alveolus that has type 2 pneumocytes, there are about 10% of the pneumocytes present in the alveoli or alveolar cells are type 2 pneumocytes. These pneumocytes secrete surfactant. Surfactant, what it does is it punctures the water layer, plus it creates another air and fluid interface and reduces the surface tension by 8 to 10 times. So if you see here, if the surfactant is present, then the total inward tension can drop down to 3 to 30 dynes. So very, very low compared to the pure water. Now when the collapsing power, when the walls of the alveoli try to collapse under surface tension, then the air inside is being squeezed and the pressure develops. So if my hand is the alveolus and it is collapsing around, this is the air, it collapses around this, then the air would develop a pressure. If my hand is squeezing it, that pressure is now moving outwards. So outward force is not only the chest wall pulling out, but also the alveolar pressure that develops. This is the pressure that is resisting the collapse. Now let's look at the Laplace's law that helps us understand what will be the dynamics of the alveolar radius. So Laplace's law says that the pressure in a sphere or a cylinder is directly proportional to the surface tension, the tension in the walls, divided by the radius of the sphere. So here in the pulmonology we say that the pressure 2T over R is the equation. What that means is 2T, the T is the surface tension exerted by the collagen elastin plus the fluid air interface, and it is an inward force, and R is the radius. Pressure that would be generated is an outward force that would neutralize the T. So let's see two alveoli and see how the pressure goes in there. This alveolus has a T of 2, this alveolus has radius of 2, and pressure is 2T over R, so 2 multiplied by 2 divided by R, and let's say radius is 2, so 2T is 2 as well, so 4 divided by 2 is 2. So the total pressure here is 2 centimeter of water. How about this side? T is 2, keep the T same, R is 1, now the radius has become smaller. Pressure equals 2T over R, so 2 multiplied by 2 by 1 is 4. So in my last example I used T as 5, so let's just say 4 here, and over here it was 1T. So 1T and 4. Instead of saying T, 1 centimeter of water and 4 centimeter of water. So what happens is, as the radius reduces, pressure increases. That pressure increase has two benefits. One is it is trying to keep it open. At the same time, increased pressure in the alveolus also tries to eject the air from it. So when the air would quickly eject, the alveolus radius will become even more shrunken, and this process can continue to ultimately collapse the alveolus itself. This is the process that happens during atelactasis. Atelactasis is a pathological condition where the alveoli are collapsing because of some damage to the lungs or the infections or the mucoid obstruction and so on. There are many ways that you can obstruct the air pressure going towards the alveolus, and when that happens, the atelactasis start developing, and the more the radius reduces, higher the pressure and more the air gets out and the alveolus collapses. Now, why does it not happen in normal people, normal adults? So here is the reason why. So let's say this is a normal alveolus and this is the normal radius, and during the expiration I compress my chest. That causes the whole lungs to be shrunken, including the alveoli. But when the alveolus is shrunken, ideally the Laplace's law would become effective and the surface tension would cause the pressure to increase by this. However, here's the deal. because of the surfactant, as you reduce the radius, the surfactant molecules come more closer to each other. They say, no, don't come near. So they reduce the surface tension. So relative density of surfactant increases in a normal person when the alveolar diameter reduces. That reduces the tension, so T reduces. So when the T reduces, then the pressure also does not develop too much and we stay normal. However, in pathological conditions, if there is not enough surfactant, for example, when there is a damage to the pneumocytes, or when the air is now blocked to create pressure, or when there is a premature baby. So premature baby near the 6th and early 7th month, they do not have enough surfactant, or surfactant has not just started getting secreted. So their surface tension is higher because they have fluids without the surfactant or very tiny amount of surfactant. So their capillaries plus, sorry, not capillaries, alveoli, plus their alveoli are smaller in size yet. Both of those mechanisms try to make them unstable, and in some cases baby can actually die, and this syndrome can become fatal and alveoli can collapse. So thank you very much.